Hey, thanks for joining me again as we continue to go through the book of Proverbs together, clinging to that promise of Proverbs 1, that whoever listens to wisdom will dwell securely and be at ease and not fear disaster. Something that has really stuck out to me in these first three chapters is Proverbs 1:8, 2:1, and 3:1. In Proverbs 1:8, it says, hear wisdom. In Proverbs 2:1, it says, receive wisdom. And now in Proverbs 3:1, it says, do not forget my teaching. Because here's the truth. We are prone to wander. We're prone to rely on our own understanding and trust in our own wisdom and not hear what the Lord has to say and not receive it. And even if we've heard it and received it, to forget it and not act upon that wisdom when the time comes. In fact, that's what Proverbs 3 is telling us is if we are going to be wise people, then we must be trusting people. Here's what it says, and perhaps you have heard this verse before. It's probably one of the most famous Proverbs. Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. To not be wise in your own eyes. And so here's the truth. If I am to be a wise person, I must trust the wisdom of the Lord. I must trust his sovereignty. I must trust his goodness and his steadfast love with everything that I have. Are you trusting him? Are you trusting him for understanding? Are you trusting him, it goes on to say in verse 9, with your wealth, with your finances? Are you trusting him when he disciplines you as you maybe wander into sin? And the Bible tells us he disciplines those he loves. So do you trust him for understanding, even with your financial resources and even when he disciplines you? What else does it mean to walk in wisdom? So we trust him. And look at Proverbs 3:19. The Lord by wisdom founded the earth, and by understanding he established the heavens. And so here's what I see this verse doing. It's beginning to lift our eyes off of ourselves so that when we find ourselves in maybe bad situations or bad circumstances that aren't very favorable, we lift our eyes and say, Lord, you have created all things, you are good, and you've established everything wisely. Nothing is happenstance. It is your wisdom. So it gets our eyes off of ourselves. And watch what happens when we trust the Lord, trust his wisdom, get our eyes off of ourselves. Listen to what it says in verse 24. This is so good. Let's start in verse 23. Then you will walk on your way securely, and your foot will not stumble. You will lie down and will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. Do not be afraid of sudden terror or the ruin of the wicked when it comes, for the Lord will be your confidence. So did you hear that? If we're walking in wisdom, we have a peace of mind. When we lay our head on the pillow at night, we can sleep sweetly, because our mind is at ease and our mind is being renewed. In fact, the Bible says in Romans 12, don't be conformed to this world. Don't be conformed to the wisdom of this world, but be transformed. How? Romans 12:2, by the renewing of your mind. Trust the Lord. Lift your eyes to him and sleep in peace. For the Lord is your security and he is your confidence. And so if you walk in wisdom, you'll have peace of mind. And look at verse 28. Do not say to your neighbor, go and come again. Tomorrow I will give it to you if you have it. Don't plan evil against your neighbor. So if we are to walk in wisdom, it's trusting the Lord, being at ease internally. Your mind is at ease. Your mind is secure. And that means you will love your neighbor as yourself. If you have something to give to your neighbor and they need it, give it to them. Don't pick fights with your neighbor. Be a good neighbor. You probably have so many opportunities to do that right now. If we are to walk in wisdom, then we must love our neighbor. Let me give you a little pro tip here. There's a lot in each chapter of Proverbs. I want to encourage you to each day maybe take one verse and really turn it over in your mind. Have you ever had a dish that was just remarkable, and each bite it became better? I remember eating, this might not sound good to some of you, a bowl of turtle soup one time. And each bite, I could just taste a different flavor. Now I was taking the same bite of the same soup, but the depth just came out as I enjoyed it. Now maybe you have something maybe better for you than turtle soup than that, but here's my point. Take one of these proverbs. Here's what I did today. Things can get overwhelming when you're at home, and I was kind of flying off the handle at my kids because they were bickering again. And by grace, my wife let me go on a bike ride during lunch. And so I did that to kind of clear my mind. And I just turned it over in my mind. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and don't be wise in your own eyes. And as I did that, it's like the Lord began to heal me. When I was flying off the handle at my kids, it was like I was rotting inside. It doesn't feel good. There's this tension and this pain, and it's almost like this death inside of you when you're trusting in your own wisdom and not being gracious. The Bible says here in Proverbs 3:3, let love and faithfulness be around your neck. May that be what your life is all about. And what I began to experience, and I think you will too as you savor these Proverbs, look at verse 8 of chapter 3. It'll be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones. I pray as we continue to go through these Proverbs together that you will find healing, that you will find refreshment, that you will find peace, and you will lay your head down on the pillow securely and sweetly and enjoying the rest that God gives you. Would you cling to Him for wisdom? Would you offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy, pleasing, and acceptable to Him? Would you not be conformed to the wisdom of this world, but would you be transformed through the renewing of your mind?